Being stuck at the side of the road with a flat tyre is every driver's worst nightmare. And a lot of us drivers out there are quite reluctant to admit that it's probably a really, really difficult thing to change a tyre. But we need to find out how it's done. Fortunately, I'm here at Perry's to talk to Chris about how to change a tyre. So, how do we do this? It sounds simple, but there's some things you've got to look out for.
Yeah, everyone thinks it is just a simple thing to do. There is a lot of safety aspects involved with it. Obviously, if you get a puncture that you need to change the wheel, the first thing you need to do is make sure it's safe to do in that environment where you are. There's a lot of places that are quite dangerous to do it, obviously motorways and things like that. Make sure you are safe before you do anything.
Yeah. And safety concerns like the verge not being wide enough, or it's the driver's side, so there are cars whizzing by, then you would say speak to an operator.
Yeah, if it's on the motorway and it's on your driver's side, I'd try and not do it and get recovered. Always stay safe. Cool.
Okay, so it is safe to do it because we're in the Perry's dealership. So
we are,
should we have a look and see what we do?
Yeah,
cool. Right, okay. What have we got here then?
So, these are the tools that some cars do have. If they come with a spare wheel, these will be the kit that it does have.
Yeah. Looks pretty simple. What's this little thing here?
This is one of the most important keys for removing the wheels. Not every car will have it. It's called a locking wheel nut key. If you ever go on a long journey, make sure that you take this thing with you.
Right.
Because if you do ever come a cropper and need to get your wheel off, you won't be able to get it off without this thing.
Right, okay, so you will be stranded.
You will be stranded, yeah.
Everything else looks pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
That's a jack, I'm assuming.
The jack.
And the wrenches there you can use to get the actual wheel nuts off.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
The wrenches also help you get the jack up as well. It's basically just to make it more compact for you.
Okay. Do you have to remember anything else before you get to this stage? Have you got to have the handbrake on, or what's the score?
Yeah, always make sure that your handbrake's on, so that obviously the car doesn't roll away. And generally, you should either put it in first or reverse gear, just to lock them front wheels in.
Okay, right, so that will stop it from moving when you're trying to get the wheel nuts off. Perfect. So what's the first thing that we do then, Chris, from here?
Okie dokie. So from here, initially, you want to try and crack them nuts off.
Okay.
To make sure that they're not too tight and that you can get them off when the car is actually jacked up. So we'll go ahead and do that then.
Super. So as it stands, don't need a jack for now, we just need this one?
Just that one, yeah.
Cool, okay.
So obviously your locking wheel nut key goes onto there for you.
Yeah.
And then you just crack them off.
Crack away?
Crack away.
Oh, right, okay.
And that should be tight, that's enough. Just a little bit.
Just a bit?
Yeah, just basically, you just want to crack them off, just so that the wheels are obviously still secure, but you're not having to wrench on them when you get it up in the air.
Okay, so the wheels are loosened off then, Chris. What's next?
Next thing is to jack it up.
Okay, sounds simple enough. We'll stick the jack in there, and is there a point it has to go in?
There's usually an indent into the bottom of the car that will tell you where to jack it up at the strongest point.
Okay. Right, I can see that.
Yep.
Right, perfect. So let's get it in position.
No problem.
And then we'll start jacking her up. So the last bit then, Chris.
Yep.
And I think, is it sufficiently off the floor? It looks like
I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
We're up there, yep, definitely.
Cool. Okay then, so what is next?
So the next thing to do, the wheel's off the floor, it's ready to come off.
Perfect.
So you get your bar and start winding them nuts back out.
Okay. Sorted.
So you want to take them all the way out now, so your wheel's ready to come off.
So you're down to the last nut, Chris?
Down to the last nut, yeah, last few threads.
So it's probably best to keep everything tidy as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Always try and keep everything in an organised manner and nothing goes astray.
It's the last thing you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, there's nothing worse than when you put something down and you can't find it afterwards. So that's now all the nuts are off and this is ready to come off.
Pretty heavy?
They are a little bit heavy. You're better just taking your time with them. Sometimes they do get stuck on a little bit, might need a little bit of a good push, but generally they're usually not too bad to come off. So we'll take that off now then.
And that one looks like it's ready to come off. Oh,
yeah,
simple as that,
literally
isn't it?
just fall off that one.
Perfect. Okay, so that's come off. It's obviously got a problem if it was in the real world. So what can happen now? Would it just be a like for like, or?
Depends on manufacturers. Some cars do come with another full-size spare, which is ready just to pop straight over. Most likely you will get a space saver spare, which is a lot skinnier tyre. It's usually black in colour with a lot of stickers on it telling you about the speed that you can go on it and the sort of distance that you can go on it. It's basically just a temporary wheel, so you would never ever keep it on too long.
Right.
The main thing is with them is make sure that they sit on right and they're all perfectly in.
Okay, Chris, so we've got our new wheel and tyre to get us back to base. Sounds simple enough putting it back on, but we'll have to look out for a few things, don't we? So should we stick it back on and you can tell me about that?
Basically, as you're putting it back on, you need to get it lined up with all the studs on the actual wheel. So, there we go, and it just slots back into place.
Okay,
like
cool.
So.
Right, okay, and then you would just pop all the nuts back on?
Yeah, make sure that they go on straight.
Yeah.
Try not to cross-thread any of them. Usually, if you go on finger tight with them first.
Yep, and that's the wheel locking nut going on first.
That's the locking wheel nut one.
Cool.
Yeah. So you try and get that one basically to where you can't turn it anymore, and then just add the rest of them on. Basically, you want to keep going across until you get to the last one, and then obviously you can go on from there and do the same as you're tightening up as well.
Perfect, cool. Okay, Chris, so you have finger tightened those up.
I have, yeah.
So now what would you do? Do we just drop it, or is there something else we got?
No, you ideally want to give them a bit of a nip first, and you know that that wheel's sat on there properly and it's not going to go anywhere. So I'll do that for you now. So get them all whipped up nicely, and it's basically just give it a little nip.
Okay,
just
cool.
So.
Just a touch, not anything aggressive.
No, nothing aggressive. It's just basically just so that they're sat on there properly, because you can do the main tightening when the wheel's down on the floor. So we want to go across from each other again, and then do the last one. Okay.
Right, okay, so that's not road safe at the minute, that's just to make sure it's on.
Just to make sure that it is sat up flush against the hull.
Perfect, right. You're going to direct me now, what have I got to do?
I am. Would you like to let the jack down for me?
Right, okay. Jack time, my favourite part.
Yep.
Okay. So anti-clockwise, obviously.
Yep.
Right, okay, so we're nearly down, but you've got to remember, haven't you, that these spare wheels and space savers, whatever you're putting back on, they're not going to stay on the car, are they?
No, even if it is a full spare alloy wheel, you should always bring it into your local Perry's dealership so we can check it out, make sure that you've got the right torque on that wheel. Every car's torque changes, so you need to get it checked out, make sure it is safe on there, and then we can also get a new tyre onto your old rim and get it back on.
So it's all about safety, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's about safety.
And talking of safety, that's safely done.
Yep.
So now, this is the final bit, isn't it?
This is the final bit now. Basically, you just want to make sure that them wheel nuts are tight enough to be able to be on the road.
And this is get you home.
This is basically just get you home. You want to get into a dealership as quick as possible, just so we can double check everything and make sure it is to the right specification for you. So I'll give them a quick nip up.
And there's a special way, isn't there? So.
Yep. So going up there. So I've gone for the top one first, and then you should always go to the alternate one. So coming straight across, give that one a good nip up, and then come over to this side.
And your tightening up is going to be different than my tightening up because you're stronger than me.
I don't know about that. And that's the last one. So yeah, you want to basically have it so it's a good tightness though. You can't move it anymore.
And that'll make sure it's going to get you home.
It's going to get you home. That's all done now. Like I say, it is literally just get you home. You want to get into a dealership as soon as possible, then we can just check it out and make sure everything is safe for you.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
That's all good for me. I'll make sure I take this back in the car so I don't lose it.
That one, yep.
And spot on. Thanks for that, Chris.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Super.
Cheers.